This is podcast number 20, Parenting on Empty, and the topic is building for the memory, not the moment.
Which doesn't mean that you shouldn't live in the moment and enjoy the moment. I'm not particularly encouraging that. But we are talking about the concept that frequently we get so stuck in the moment and we want the moment to be so perfect and so exactly the way we had planned it that we forget that a lot of times what happens in the moment is actually going to be colored by memory.
That's exactly the way I think. I want everything to be perfect, and sometimes I get a little anal about the whole thing and wanting it to be just so, and forgetting that I'm probably sacrificing the memory.
In fact, for our kids, a lot of times the memory is far more significant than the moment ever was. We are in a slightly unusual situation in that we tend to document almost everything that we ever do.
Wait, let me write that down. We tend to document everything we do.
Thank you. You just made my point. I appreciate that. And so we have video or we have pictures that the kids look back at on a regular basis and talk about the event and what happened. And frequently an event that during the time they may have been miserable, they may have been bickering back and forth, they may have not really in that moment seemed to have enjoyed themselves a lot, which drives me crazy. I mean, if they start picking at each other, or if they say, I'm tired, I'm hungry, are we going home soon? You know, the typical things that kids say.
Exactly.
I tend to feel like that particular outing, that event, whatever it was, is a failure. Because in the moment, it didn't seem to fulfill my expectations of what I wanted it to do. And I feel like they didn't enjoy it. It was meaningless to them. But then I listen to them, sometimes even just a couple weeks later, but certainly months and even years later, as they recall these various events that in my mind flopped. And they have great memories of it. And they say, oh, remember when we did this? Yeah, that was so fun. I just loved that. And I say, really?
That's not the way I remember it.
I could not tell.
Yeah, don't we do that regularly as just human beings? We tend to remember things better than they actually were. You know, like growing up as a kid, if you ever have the chance to go back to the home you grew up in, you take a look at that home and you say, man, this isn't nearly as big as a house as I remember, or it was a lot cooler, as better. Don't you think we tend to do that anyway?
Probably. Memory probably romanticizes to a certain degree. But I think a lot of what it does is memory also puts things in better perspective. And at least as a mom, because I really hate bickering children. That's probably one of my pet peeves. I don't like kids that are arguing or even just kind of picking at one another. They poke each other in the ribs and say, stop poking me. But really, they don't care about that. They're just interacting. They're having a good time. I'm not having a good time. So what memory does is it puts things in better perspective. That for me, in the moment, I get carried away with the apparent emotion and the surface behavior that sometimes, I mean, I take kids' words so seriously. Like if one of our kids says, I'm tired, I want to go home, or can't we do something else? I take that incredibly seriously. And I think that that means that they're not enjoying it and they're not having a good time. And I know at least for our 7-year-old that sometimes she just really doesn't know how to have a conversation yet. And she wants to contribute and she feels like the only way I can get a voice and have people actually listen to me is if I complain.
Yeah, a good case in point was during Christmas when we gave them tickets to Disneyland. And so we had a little coupon we made up and we put it inside a Disneyland or a Disney ornament, Christmas ornament. And when they opened up the ornament, they pulled out this card and it said, good for one free ride on Thunder Mountain or Tower of Terror. And of course, our older daughter, she just went ballistic and was really excited and very animated. Oh, we're going to Disneyland. We're going to Disneyland. And our youngest, I think she was trying to find a voice to express that emotion too, but she decided to go with the opposite emotion. Oh, I don't want to go to Disneyland. Are you nuts?
She said, "We've already been there. Why would we go back?"
Exactly.
Much to the chagrin of the advertisers for Disneyland.
Yeah, that particular video won't make
That
it on
won't
the
make it. No, we won't be
commercial.
selling that. But the interesting thing is, as we've talked about it since then, she's very excited about going.
She just mentioned that to me the other day. She said, "Oh, it's only about like a month away that we're going to be going to Disneyland."
Yeah. So if I put too much stock in what she actually says and how she actually says it, it ruins the moment. And the thing that I have to keep reminding myself is that I'm building a lifetime, kind of a vault of memories for my kids.
Yeah.
And they will remember the Christmas that they got those Disneyland tickets. Even Michaela will remember it with fondness and with excitement and say, "Oh, wasn't that great?" And Michaela will not remember probably her reaction unless we keep reminding her.
Yes.
Nor will she put a lot of stock in that because she knows how she felt inside.
Right.
And I just have really recently begun to realize that I spend far too much time trying to manipulate the events of the present to make them be perfection on my standards. And when that doesn't work, which it never is going to, I get frustrated and I think, "Oh, it's terrible. It's a failure. Nobody likes it." And that I need to loosen up and allow people to not have fun briefly, allow them to be bored, allow them to express negative feelings and opinions without reacting to it, without responding at all.
Yeah.
And just not file away in my brain, "Well, I'm never going to do this again because it obviously wasn't worth it." But recognize that in time, because this was something that we did together as a family, or because this was an event that involved significant people or a significant time, that this will become a significant memory. And the idea is for me not to get caught up in the actual behaviors, the actual attitudes, the actual feelings that are being thrown around by any of the people present, and to maintain my personal equilibrium, recognizing that, yes, we are here in the moment, and my goal is to enjoy this moment here and now for what it is, but recognizing that I am filing memories away in the archive of my children's lives, and they're going to be pulling this out randomly for the rest of their life and examining it and thinking about it. And it's one of the pieces of glue that cement their perception of their lives as children, their lives as part of our family, their lives as a person who's learning to be an adult and take a different role in society. And that's important and that's significant, and that's kind of what is now fueling most of what I do.
You know, I think they do that now as far as reflecting back on significant events. They talk like they're old timers. Remember when we used to do this and we used to go to this place? Wasn't that a lot of fun? One of the inspirations that I take away from that particular phrase, building for the memory, not the moment, is that my temptation is often to be discouraged because I'll put a lot of creative energies into creating a fun time or a fun memory. And as you were talking just earlier, the fact that you don't necessarily get the response you're hoping for, and there's a certain amount of bickering or complaining or whining about this, that, or the other thing. And I begin to get discouraged and think, well, that's not what I was going for, and this isn't going to be fun. And all that energy I spent to create this fun activity and build this great atmosphere, it's not panning out. But as you said, down the road, they'll say, yeah, that was a real fun time. I really enjoyed that. I like doing that, even though I didn't get the response I was hoping for at the moment.
For example, you take our youngest daughter, Michaela, to the Lowe's, which is a hardware store. They have a program called the Build and Grow, and it's for parents and kids to come, and the store provides little projects that the kids build with hammers and nails and all sorts of fun little tools.
It's a great project, and we'll provide a link to it on our show notes on the podcast.
It's a wonderful place because it's a free time, and it's something positive that you can go to. I have done it with Michaela, and you have done it with Michaela, and Mariah did it a couple times, but she has sort of outgrown it now. But Michaela, she complains about it sometimes, and she'll say, are we going? Do we have to go? And then she goes and she has a really good time. And when she comes back home, she doesn't really care much about the things she built, which is kind of disconcerting. You think, man, you just spent all this time and energy building this thing. And she doesn't always care if it's put together correctly, which drives you crazy.
Yes, it does.
But it's interesting the result that it's had in her life, because every once in a while she'll pipe up and over Christmas, they didn't have a Build and Grow for about a month and a half. And usually it's every few Saturdays. And she was, how come we haven't gone? When are we going to do that again? And I was noticing she was out on the lawn yesterday doing some building. She built a little bird cage. And she was not bird cage, a bird house. And initially she was waiting for you to come and help her with it. But I got everything ready for her, laid out, and she opened the package and she started putting things together. And I thought, oh, well, I need to help her since you're not there. And so I got up and walked over to her to help and read the instructions for her. And I started reading and she looked at me and she said, Mom, I really don't need you to do that. I just look at the picture. I know what I'm doing. And it was really intriguing for me because she's only 7 years old, and here she's doing a little building project and feels completely competent and completely confident that she can do it. There is no hesitation. There's no self-doubt. That's incredible for a 7-year-old. And that's a product of her going to these things with you.
Yeah.
And she isn't going to necessarily be self-aware enough to say, I have gained so much confidence because of these little projects that I've done with my dad through the years. But when she's older and she looks back on those times, she will have more self-awareness and self-analysis and be able to figure out that contributed to my belief that I can do stuff.
It's a great event and it doesn't cost anything except for your time. Of course, you do have to go into the hardware store, and it's very difficult to leave a hardware store without purchasing a tool.
Yes, I've noticed that.
That's a bit of a quandary.
The more that we can remember that we're building for the memory and not get stuck in the particulars of the moment, the more it will help our responses. Because I remember you were helping her recently put together, her school did a Valentine's box. Each child made their own creative Valentine's box, and she decided she wanted to do Olaf from Frozen, the movie. And he's a snowman. And so you started to help her with it, and it was incredibly creative and beautiful. You did paper mache, all this kind of stuff. But it was a lot of work. And she's a 7-year-old. And to her, she just wanted to get it done quickly. She's not a real detail-oriented, oh, I'm so jazzed about the process kid. And the process was, I think, a 5 or 6 step process. And at one point, you got a little frustrated with her because
Yes,
she said, do we have to do this? And your point was, I am not doing this for myself. I am doing this for you because you wanted to do this.
Even though I probably was doing it a little bit for myself.
A little bit for you because you like creativity.
Yes.
But I mean, that's a legitimate response. You want your kids to respond positively when you're doing nice things for them. But I guess the point is that she is going to remember that Olaf. her whole life, she'll remember that.
Yes.
And already she has talked about it in very positive terms and very kind of romantic. Oh, wasn't it great? But in the moment, because she's 7 and she has no filtering devices on her mouth, if a thought happens to wander through her brain like, this is kind of hard, and wouldn't it be nice if I could just sit down and watch a TV program instead, that comes out of her mouth.
Yeah.
And she never once thinks about considering, does this hurt the feelings of my parents? Is this polite? Is this kind? She's still learning that kind of filter to put on
Yes.
her mouth. And so for us, I think the challenge is, how do we look past those and instead just recognize she'll remember this.
Yes.
This will be good. And it truly does change the moment, for me at least.
Right. That brings a question to mind. Do you think that building for the memory is harder to do than just saying, hey, we're here, let's do whatever? Because don't you have to have a bit of a game plan to say, I want to create a memory here?
Yes. And I think it's more intentional. So a lot of the activities that at least I do with our kids, and I think you do as well, but I won't speak for you. I do it because I am planning something that I want to work out in their lives. Like, I have done cooking and baking with both of our girls in the kitchen. They make a total mess, drives me crazy. And many times they complain because you get into the middle of the baking or the cooking and they're kind of ready to quit. It's, I think I'm done. No, you're not done, because we're in the middle and you have to finish it. You started it, you finish it. And the only reason, not the only reason, I do it with them because I like to spend time with them, and that's a productive, positive, initially, way to spend time with them. But I'm also doing it intentionally because I want to build into their lives and equip them so that in the future they know how to cook for themselves. They know how to bake.
Yes.
They will be able to, they don't have to go out to eat every meal. They can save money, cook for themselves. If they get married and have families, they can provide for their families. I teach them about nutrition. They don't care anything about that at this point, and it's kind of a bore for them, but I am building for their future.
Yeah.
And I'm building for the memory. When we sit at the dinner table, sometimes the kids, I'm sure, would much rather sit and watch TV or just be allowed to go to their room and eat by themselves and do their own thing. But for the most part, we eat dinner at the dinner table. And that's not because there's anything magical about the dinner table, but I want our kids to look back and remember that we regularly spent time together as a family, just catching up and saying, so what happened? What's going on? Talking about our day, talking about our thoughts. Frequently, we'll have a little devotional time together.
Yeah.
And all of that, it isn't particularly enjoyable in the moment all the time. But I know beyond a shadow of a doubt that as they look back when they're adults, that will be something that they really remember.
I think one thing that builds that memory is the repetition. And that's one of my strategies that I used. We were aunt and uncle a long time before we were actually parents, and we had nieces. And one of the things I did with them was create these little adventures. And I gave them names, adventure names, Ted and Steve. They're 2 girls, and so I thought it would be very, very creative to give them boy names.
And absolutely hilarious, of course.
Oh, yeah,
Yes.
yeah. So, and then of course I would videotape it and turn it into these little vignettes of the adventures of Ted and Steve. And we did it all the time. I mean, every time we got together, we would do something like that. And it was always the same. Not the same adventure, but the same kind of theme. And that created some good memories for them.
Actually, the repetition I hadn't thought of, but that's a really good observation. You do that with Michaela. You did it with Mariah more than you do now. But you have this thing that you do with the kids. We call it Tickle of Doom.
Yes.
And Michaela acts like she doesn't like it. A lot of times you'll start to tickle her and she'll make a real whiny sound, or she'll say, stop, stop. But then when you stop, she does something to try to get you to start it again.
Right.
If you went by her reaction and her response in the moment, you would just give up because she whines. It's what she does. And I've talked to her about that and said she literally tries not to smile sometimes, pretty regularly, actually.
That is true. Yeah.
She'll be really tempted to laugh at something and smile, and she'll just hold her mouth and try not to smile. And I say, never resist a smile. Always take every opportunity to smile and laugh. But for some reason, I don't know if it makes her feel vulnerable or what, but she would much rather kind of complain or whine. And so if you went with that, you would stop many interactions with her that are really positive, that she truly enjoys.
Yeah.
But she doesn't know how to communicate that she enjoys it.
Right. Yeah, that is part of the strategy. And you have to be intentional. I'm building a memory. And sometimes you just have to tell yourself that. It's not necessarily going the way I want it to right now, but I'm building a memory. One of the things I try to do is create some kind of gimmick. So you come up with a gimmick and you just keep going with it. And of course, yeah, we did that with our oldest when she was little. Had the little play car, one of those little play cards that you push around, has all these little buttons, and they have little sing-songy things they say when you push the button. And one of the buttons said, "Daddy loves you." And whenever she would push that button, I would run towards her and give her all kinds of kisses. And that became a shtick, a gimmick.
Did. Mm-hmm.
And so she would look and see where I was, kind of come, put a little distance between me and her, and then she'd push the button and then start running the other direction. Of course, I jump out of the chair and race after her and give her all kinds of kisses. Yeah, and that was a memory. And she still refers to that.
Mm-hmm. So I don't think I'm saying that you should not live in the moment, but I think that the living in the moment should be influenced by the fact that the moment is not all there is. And it's much like being a believer, a Christian, that we live in the here and now, and we enjoy the here and now as a place and a time that God has provided for us for enjoyment, for pleasure, for delight. But this is not all there is. And sometimes there are experiences that are not delightful. They're difficult. They are sad. They are frustrating. And at that moment, you realize I am not just living in this moment. I am also building memories for the future. I am building for eternity. And how I deal with this right now is going to impact my future life, who I am. So I think it's both. You live in the moment, recognizing that the moment is not all there is.
Yeah, and sometimes the moment doesn't have to be a great, fun, and creative thing. We don't necessarily do this, but, maybe it's going down to the mission and serving soup on a Saturday, maybe once Saturday a month, or maybe it's just going around with a rake and a shovel and doing some yard work for some shut-ins. It doesn't always have to be a fun, exciting, going to Disneyland, going to SeaWorld, or whatever it is that you want to go to type of event. It can just be a regular, mundane thing of raking leaves or shoveling bark dust or whatever it is.
Part of the building for memories is not just memories of events, like you were saying, of fun things. We have our kids help with chores around the house. And part of that is because we need the help. But most of it is that we're trying to instill in them that a family works together, and that the caretaking of the home and the preparation of the meals is something that we all work together on. It's kind of how we express our love for one another. It's part of being a family community. And when the kids were younger, it was really hard to find something they could do that, wouldn't end up being destructive and for them or for the house. But now that Michaela is 7, I'm giving her more and more tasks. And some of them she enjoys and some of them she doesn't enjoy. And so I have her sort the socks in the laundry. She hates doing that, but it's something she can do and it's something she does very well. So when I give her a load of socks from the laundry, she complains and she's, oh, do I have to do all of them? Can't I do them later? No, you need to do all of them and you need to do it now. And she does it. But even already, she's not old yet, but in looking back, she feels better about herself because she has contributed to the family. And she looks at her older sister who's doing chores and she thinks, I'm just like her. I'm grown up. I'm doing chores too. And it's that very twisted, I feel really good about myself because I did a task that I didn't enjoy, but it was helpful for other people. And I think when we give our kids difficult tasks, that moment, if we can remember, what am I building toward? I'm building toward them remembering what a family is like so they can reproduce that in their own family lives. I'm building toward this is what siblings are supposed to be like when they're together. This is how they care for one another.
If you're just listening to this and thinking I'm not the real creative type and I don't have these great ideas and all these different kind of resources, I think just the bottom line is you're doing something on a regular basis and you're reaching out and spending time. And that's the basis, that's the foundation of creating positive memories. Whether it's, hey, every Saturday we get up and we go to the store and we buy a gallon of ice cream and we eat it that night. That's it.
And you have to eat it whether you like it or not.
Whether you like it or not, because this is the memory. Whatever it is, it's just spending time together. We're going to play cards.
Some families have like a Friday movie night.
Yeah.
And they just rent a movie for $1 and the family gets together, watches the movie together. Well, as the kids get older, that may not be the most attractive option for them on a Friday night. But if for the most part you stick to that and you say, this is what our family does, and you allow them maybe to invite their friends to come as well, but still they're participating with the family, the family unit, then the memory, even though at the moment they're all sulky and it's, oh, you make me stay home when I could be with my friends, the memory will be, my family, every Friday night we would get together and we'd watch a movie together. It was just, it offers stability, it offers family togetherness, unity, whatever you want to call it, that in the memory becomes a significant kind of stepping stone.
Right.
That helps them identify, this is who I am and this is what I come from.